I know every word to the whole thing. Yeah. I've got so many emails about a subject other than this Brigham thing. I have more emails about this than anything else.
Well, it's interesting because I'll talk about it at the meeting. I sent that email that we got from the CEO, volunteer CEO,
Yeah.
to the epidemiologist at Tazewell County. She said, oh, we're very familiar with her. She represents the industry.
Oh.
On the board are Kratom. So that's why she's reaching out to educate us.
I got multiple though.
Really?
Like 4 or 5 different emails.
All four?
Buffalo Grove.
Keeping it, yeah.
Yeah. Up north. Switch towards their basement. Smoke it, play Xbox Live.
How much?
Sure. Never know.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we are good. 1 minute.
Which way's the on? I never know. It's on. Yours is just permanently on because mine's the other way.
Yes, we are.
It being 5:30, I'll call the departmental meeting of the Village of Peoria Heights Board of Trustees to order. If everyone would please stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Turner, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Steinwedel?
Present.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Simmons?
Present.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee Reichert?
Present.
Thank you all for coming. We have a quorum. We're now down to the approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting on January the 20th, 2026. Do I hear a motion?
I have a motion. Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Simmons, seconded by Trustee Kazam. Any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. We're down to comments from the audience. If there are anyone wishing to make a comment, please come to the podium, give your name, address, and try to keep your comment to 5 minutes. Comments from the audience. Comments going once. Comments are going twice. Comments are closed. We're now down to old business. Ordinance 2026-1786, an ordinance rescinding and repealing prior ordinance 2025-1170, passed October 7th, 2025, overriding mayoral veto, establishing new Article E of Chapter 3 of Title 3 of the Peoria Heights Village Code, implementing a municipal grocery tax. Trustee Steinwedel?
Good evening, Mayor. After some,
Oh, well, first,
okay,
could we, sorry, First, can we just get it on the floor for
Sure.
discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-1786, an ordinance rescinding or repealing prior ordinance 2025-1170.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Steinwaddle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Kazan. All right, trustee Steinwaddle.
After the last couple meetings that we've had, there was a lot of discussion on the grocery store that came in that will be leaving us soon. I've talked to a lot of individuals that are upset about this, and in the discussions, I started to hear a lot of disapproval of the grocery tax. The grocery tax, we have until April 1st to rescind the grocery tax. After that, it will go into effect on July 1st for the next 6 months unless we rescind it after that. My thinking behind this was I talked to multiple citizens. They were just upset at the taxes in general in Illinois and the level of taxes. And at my core values, I am for less taxation, smaller government, more financially responsible government. And so that was the decision that I made to change my stance on that. And that was the reason for my letter to you, was to rescind that. If we wanted to, we could rescind it. If people wanted to, nothing in there said we're going to take this off of the referendum. In fact, I think according to legal counsel, when we discussed the referendum, that was only supposed to be one avenue of information gathering. My stance on this will not change as far as I'm opposed to the grocery tax. But when it comes to looking at the democratic process and looking at what people really want, I felt I've done my due diligence. I've talked to the citizens, and I've had very good conversations, honest conversations with people that disagree with me. And I've changed my stance on it. And if we wanted to rescind this tonight, that would give us more time. If people wanted more information to change their vote, to go out and look at other avenues for data collection on this issue, as opposed to just a primary election, which I think is going to be a very historic, it's going to be a very low turnout for the election. There's nothing contested in the Heights. I called the election commission, and if you're neither a Democrat or a Republican, if you run as an independent, you have to request a ballot for the grocery tax. So, I have a feeling that it's not going to be a very large turnout. That doesn't negate the validity of it, but at the same time, I think we do need to take counsel if people are wanting to base their decision on the information that we gather from the public in other ways. I think we need to look at something beyond just this referendum coming up.
Okay, thank you, trustee Steinwaddle. And council, do you, before we get on to any further debate, do you want to give a little bit of a procedural history? I know you and I went back and forth on this. In full disclosure, this is on the agenda because I did have two trustees ask that this be placed on the agenda.
Yes.
But do you want to talk a little bit about the procedural history here?
Yes, so this was an ordinance that was originally adopted by the board, and the mayor exercised his veto right, and that brought it back in front of the village board to determine if they wanted to override the veto. That actually did happen. So you had a veto override, so the ordinance was sent down to the Department of Revenue to take effect, not January 1, as we know, but it would be July 1. It's no different than any other ordinance, which means it's subject to modification by this board at any time. So it's back on the agenda for repeal, just at the request of two trustees, as you mentioned, which is something that we don't often reconsider ordinances in such a short time frame, but that doesn't mean that we can't. So it is legitimate to have it back on the agenda for repeal.
Thank you.
It's not a reconsideration, which would have to happen at the very next meeting, but the effect will be the same.
Thank you. And thank you for your clarification. Any other comments or concerns to come before the board?
If I may, I'd like to share that I still want to be able to hear the voices of the community and give them an opportunity to vote on March 17th. if I may request of the mayor, please, if we would call a special session for March 18th on Wednesday to have another debate or conversation. If the constituents decide to vote no, we can change the vote, submit our request by April 1st deadline, and change to take the tax off, not apply it on July 1st. I also don't want to take the voice away from the individuals in our community that want to vote yes. Everybody has an opportunity to be heard, and they need to come to vote. Thank you, Mayor.
No problem.
We did talk as a board about other avenues. I think we talked about like a Google Doc or some other way for people who are not gonna get out and vote. What is the process and who needs to start? Like, does one of us need to take the initiative to start that? Like, how do we move forward with other avenues of collecting data outside of the referendum?
Is there something we could send out with the water bill that kind of gauges some interest?
Everybody looks at that, that's for sure, yes.
So I think the water bills are staggered. So
Okay.
the problem is that you'll be asking the question for
Right.
a long
The rest
time.
of the year.
Could we send it out through our notification system? I understand that not everyone's on there, but that would target a large number of people, and we could also put the form on our website. Is that
Yep.
an option?
With like a link.
Yeah, we currently have about 300 people on that list.
On they get the notification?
Yeah.
And the website, I think, is a good idea as well. I mean, if it's on there.
I mean, we could also post it in our, we keep making these posts about what's going on in the community. I feel like, we could have that also be added in to direct people to the website to look at it, because we're using that platform to broadcast the array of other things as well.
I'm fine with all this, moving it or whatever it is. My concern was that we were gonna get to the April 1st deadline without having a vote on this and the tax would be enacted. We just haven't gotten anything else out there than this election. I'm even fine if you wanted to put a referendum on the November ballot. I talked to the election commission and they said that we should expect several times more people to show up at the November election. If I remember correctly, that was our reasoning for putting it on this one. I'm not trying to stop this going to the ballots. I'm not trying to stop this any other avenue of data collection. I'm comfortable with the due diligence that I've done on this and the people that I've talked to, and where I believe my core values are on this topic. There's great arguments on both sides of it, but if we really want to take this to the people, I think forcing this into a primary election on this March 17th isn't a very good representation for the due diligence that we should be doing with the tax that we're putting in front of the people. If we're truly going to go to the people and ask them their opinion, I believe we should give them a voice, and I think we should look at different avenues, which was the recommendation of council at the meeting, and that was my thought process behind it.
This topic of the grocery tax was quite a high-profile event here in the Heights, I think only surpassed by maybe the fire department. So there was a lot of news coverage, there was a lot of meetings, the veto got quite a bit of news coverage. So I think, if a citizen doesn't know about the grocery tax and the veto and the opposition to the tax and the ballot, I doubt they're gonna show up for the November one either, because they're just not focused in at this point. What I would like to do is entertain a motion to defer any action until the March 18th meeting. After that time, we'll have the results from the referendum. We did promise the citizens that they would have a voice in this, and a lot of them have voiced that they will be voting on this matter. So I think this matter alone is going to bring people out to the ballot. So I would like to see us defer this until March 18th.
So when you say you're entertaining one, are you proposing one?
Yes, I move to defer until March 18th
For a special session?
for a special session.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion to defer this from this meeting to a special meeting on the 18th?
Wednesday, March 18th.
Wednesday, March 18th.
That's correct, the day after the election.
Okay. Now, on this motion, we'll hear any debate or questions on the present motion.
I think that that's actually probably a pretty good idea. In fact, Trustee Weisenberg, I'd like to kind of solidify that with you. And some training I did recently regarding the OMA. You have 5 ILCS 120/2.07A. It prohibits public bodies from holding or scheduling a regular or special meeting on the day of a general primary election, a general election, consolidated primary election, or a consolidated election as defined in the election code 5, well there. So they've got a change according to my training that I believe would prohibit us from even holding the meeting on the 17th.
So would you prefer the 18th?
I would say moving, maybe amending that to moving our meeting from the 17th to the 18th, if that is correct. I don't know if legal counsel is aware of, it was. I think you're right. Okay, I think it went into effect
I
on
just
January
didn't look at
1st.
our meeting calendar, but if we're supposed to meet on election day, we probably should move it to the next day.
And that way we're not spending,
So
if
March
we-
18th?
So
Yeah.
you're moving to amend the motion to,
Move the
move
regular
the entire
meeting.
meeting one day back. That way we're not spending extra money on legal counsel. I like you, Mark, but, we don't have to give you 2 nights.
so
Hold on. Back or forward? Are we,
we're
Move it
moving.
to the 18th.
We're moving the
18th.
17th to the, so his motion is to move the regular meeting to the 18th.
Instead of yours being a special meeting.
Instead of having 2 meetings.
Can he just amend his? So-
That's fine. Whatever he wants to do.
Would you withdraw your motion?
Sure, absolutely.
Can you just amend your wording?
So we're canceling the 17th, we're moving the 17th to the 18th.
Yeah.
okay. Mayor, I move to defer any action on the grocery tax until Wednesday, March 18th.
Is the second,
I'll second it.
we have an existing second.
It was me, and I'm good with it.
Okay. So now the motion is to move the 17th to the 18th. So the regular scheduled meeting scheduled for the 17th will now be held on the 18th, in which we will have this as an action item. Any debate on that motion?
I think this is an excellent plan.
Very well. Hearing no further discussion, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
The motion carries. I'll see you on the 18th. All right, we're now down to new business. Ordinance 2026-1785, an ordinance amending Title VI, Chapter 7 of the Code of Village of Peoria Heights regarding cannabis and drug paraphernalia to prohibit sale and use of kratom in the Village of Peoria Heights. Trustee Weisenberg.
I move to approve
Second.
ordinance 2026-1785.
Second.
A motion by Trustee Weisenberg, seconded by Trustee Reichert. Trustee Weisenberg.
I know there's going to be a lot of discussion on this, Mayor, so what I'll open this up is just letting the board know what kratom is. Kratom is a plant-based substance with stimulant effects at low doses and an opiate-like effect at higher doses, sold as an unregulated supplement and used by some for pain or opioid withdrawal, which is why it has raises some public health concerns. I know there's been some overdoses here locally. So with that, I will open it up for discussion.
Thank you. Just as a little background on how this came about, I had a lady reach out to me. She said she was a mother in the community and that this substance had ruined her son's life and also ruined the lives of her entire family. And she asked, what is the stance of Peoria Heights on kratom? And I responded, I've never heard of kratom. So I asked, kind of what that was, and she said, well, that's not unusual. And she got me in touch with a couple of people One, Mayor Burris in Pekin, Mayor Call in East Peoria, the Tazewell County Health Department, and Megan Hanley, which is the epidemiologist, who's some of the reading material you have at your desk. I also spoke with Monica Hendrickson, who is our public health director in Peoria County as well. And then I also spoke with Representative Dr. Bill Halter in Springfield, who is looking to pass a statewide ban on this. And so after speaking with all of these people and getting some reading materials from all of them, that's kind of what you see here. And that's what led to this ordinance being on the floor tonight.
So, Mayor, I also was unaware of this substance and then spoke to some of my fellow trustees, and they educated me on it, and I did some of my own research. I have no problem voting against this being sold in our community, but is it being sold currently at any locations?
So I had, I requested Police Chief Ahart and Administrator Sutton to look into that. And Chief, do you want to discuss that?
Yeah, currently we have two businesses, the smoke shop on Marietta and the Heights Food Mart at Lake Prospect.
Okay, and I don't know that it makes an enormous amount of difference, but is that the natural version of this substance, or is it synthetic? Okay. I'm not a chemist, so I don't know what difference
Yeah,
that would make, but.
The synthetic is the reason why it's not approved through the FDA right now, because they don't know what they're putting in it.
Okay,
And the problem with natural, so I asked Megan, the epidemiologist, the problem that when something says natural is that, this is her, the labeling usually says dietary supplement and some sort of wording. This product is unregulated and not endorsed by the Food and Drug Administration. There's one brand called OPS, which says it's 100% natural kratom on the packaging. But then when you go to their website, there's a disclaimer that says, this product is a synthetic kratom product. So even their packaging is not regulated from what they're advertising. So I think, you know, when we kind of get into natural versus what is, you know, synthetic, we can't even look at the product and tell what is right and what is wrong. So that's kind of what I'm hearing from the health community.
Chief Ahart, do you guys have a way to identify this? Is it just through the crime lab or?
Through the crime lab right now,
Okay.
we have not found any tests that identify this.
Okay.
I'm sure they're coming. We just don't have any in stock right now.
The one concern I have with this, looking at this, at first I was like, we still have a cannabis ordinance on the books, but my concern is that this is not, I don't know much or anything about this until this came onto our agenda. But everything I'm looking at shows that it's addictive. It has withdrawal symptoms. It fills the same receptors as an opiate, so it has the same effect in addiction as heroin. And so looking at this, I question, does this go far enough? We don't want this here. If it's the same as heroin, I think everybody can kind of agree. We don't want something like that in our community, and does this go far enough is my question if we link it to a cannabis ordinance. You know, my only thing would be possibly looking at making the maximum fine the minimum for kratom, you know, something that's a little bit more enforceable and would give us a little more teeth to the ordinance, because right now, $300, I mean, that's less than most people's Ameren bills.
Right.
So.
Not mine, but, yeah, and one of the things I'm struggling with, Trustee Steinwittel, is that this substance is legal to buy anywhere. So, if we were to pass this ordinance as specified now, someone could buy it in Peoria, the Shell station right across from Walgreens, and then cross the street and be an instant criminal. I don't know, with the lack of a state regulation or state law, I don't know how comfortable I am with passing this ordinance as specified with the possession and use criminalized. What I would like to see is we redraw this ordinance just to prohibit the sale of it for right now until the state catches up. I believe at some point they will catch up, but I just worry that if you can buy this substance on one side of the street and become a criminal on the other side, I think that creates a lot of confusion for our police department. And there's some fairness issues there. You know, if someone buys it legally, we shouldn't be, slapping fines on them if they come into the Heights. That's just my feeling. I do believe reading this stuff, Tazewell County said they had, 6 overdose deaths involving this in 2023. So I do think at some point the state's gonna catch up, and this is gonna be regulated. But for right now, I think the best thing we can do right now is just prohibit the sale in the Heights is what I would like to see.
I have to agree. I think eliminating a lot of the information that's on this ordinance, putting it towards just not being able to sell kratom in our community, and the fines, I don't know that I agree with all of this. I do know that kratom is not a good thing to be on the streets. It is considered an opioid substitute, and, we can't control the consumption that people are going to take, but we can keep it from being bought in our city or in our community.
I got a quick question.
I'd like to point out, just because my background, we're coming from law enforcement, it is tough. It's tough to regulate a sale of something. And generally, where people that are using this and addicted to this, where you're gonna catch them is when they're moving, right? And to go into a gas station and say you cannot sell this, you have to get a warrant, you have to do a lot of different, because they do have rights just like any other place. So my only concern is that we're looking at hampering the law. I mean, we can say it's illegal to sell, but they're still gonna be selling it down there, so everybody's just gonna drive down there. I think, looking at this and the effects of it, and if we've got 6 deaths in Tazewell County alone in a year, I mean, I think that we just have to start taking a stand against it. Has Peoria City looked into any ordinance on this as well?
I think it depends on the severity that you look at this drug as. The analogy that Trustee Weisenberg gave, buying the drug across the street is the same thing as buying heroin or cocaine across the street and then coming into Peoria Heights. And I know Chief Ahart will tell you that majority of our arrests, they come from Peoria. So I look at kind of the same thing. If you look at this drug as a severe drug, that I do think a lot of municipalities will catch up and do what we're doing tonight. I think that you're gonna see that, we're out in front of it. So that's my only stance on it, Trustee Weisberg. I understand what you're saying, but I do think it is gaining steam, and I think they're seeing more and more of a problem in the Tri-County area. That's why when the mayor brought that up, I'd already talked to some people in Pekin and East Peoria. They've already adopted this, so we were heading that way anyway. But that's my only thing, is that it depends on how severe you look at this drug. If you think it's going to be something, as far as the jurisdiction, as you know, our boundaries overlap. That's an ongoing thing for the police department. So that's my stance on it. If you want to start this route, I have no problem with it, but I do think Trustee Steinwell pointed out that it is something our guys will be dealing with no matter where they buy it from. It'll be here.
Looking at this too, we also have to remember that there is a lot of officer discretion that goes into ordinance enforcement. Just because you catch somebody with something doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna tow their car and write them a ticket. The overall goal of this ordinance is compliance, not necessarily enforcement. We just don't want this stuff in our community transported around. So, if I were a new officer out on the street, and I had stopped somebody and they said, listen, I'm from Peoria, I had no idea, I'm passing through, I didn't realize this. I mean, that goes into your decision-making as a totality of how you're gonna deal with the situation. I think our police department, unless things have wildly changed, I think they've had very, very good decision-making skills kind of pushed into them. So I think they're good at what they do. And I would rather the officer have the tool in his back pocket to say, listen, this is a problem, and then to hinder them and just say, well, you got to catch them in the act of selling it, Because at the end of the day, I mean, you can stop somebody and say, is this for you and your buddies? And there it's a possession with intent to, So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways around this that this can play. I think just giving them the tool to say, you can do this at your discretion, is that there's no real harm in it. And I think our officers would take that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Council, a quick thought exercise. One of the things I'm struggling with is the fact that this is legal everywhere else. How does that work legally? Like, let's say and this might be an extreme example, but let's say one day this board decides that soda is a public health issue and, you know, obesity kills quite a bit of people, and we say we're gonna outlaw soda. Like, where's that line drawn? I mean, with Kratom, I'm not, by no means am I defending the use of Kratom. What I'm struggling with is the fact that this is legal everywhere else.
Sure.
Legally, I mean, can you explain?
This, one thing to consider is we're not criminalizing anything. We don't have authority to criminalize anything. We can just say in our community, we don't want this to happen and we're going to fine if you do. There are a lot of communities that don't allow the sale of alcohol. Obviously, it's legal at the state and national level, but some communities don't allow the sale. So it's you're not criminalizing it. You're just saying when you're in Peoria Heights, don't.
It's an ordinance violation.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
Right. It's
on that-
limited to a fine. Nobody goes to jail.
Right, on the alcohol thing, I think you bring up a good point. If a town says we don't sell alcohol, can they also fine the residents
course.
for drinking alcohol in
Oh,
their own home?
absolutely. Absolutely. Dry towns will fine, you know, so if there's an establishment that's, you know, I mean, you don't hear about that very often, but it does and certainly can occur.
Okay.
Yeah, my view on this, and, you know, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of surprised we saw a cannabis ordinance, but this, from my research on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief A. Hart, my opinion is that we should enforce something and regulate it when it affects the people around them. You know, if we have an addict running around with basically an opiate addiction in our community, that starts to affect the safety of our families, the safety of, you know, children, our property, things of that nature. So that's where my view is, you know, I do what you want, drink all the soda you want, drink the alcohol you want, but once you get into that vehicle with alcohol, it's now a crime because you're affecting everybody else. And so my question is, does this affect, you know, this addiction affect the safety of the other residents in the community? Is this a detriment to somebody's possession of property, or, you know, would this cause a break-in, or would this cause a homicide or a battery over this substance to get money to purchase it? And from my research that I'm seeing, yeah, it does. You know, that would be my concern with it.
Now, this ordinance, if I may, I do not support the sale of kratom in our community, but it also mentions cannabis as well. And marijuana used to be evil, but now it treats people, especially with cancer. So I don't believe that that information needs to be in this ordinance. I think we need to stick mainly to kratom.
Well, and maybe council, you could, the things that you see referring to cannabis is existing.
Okay.
This is not impacting that. That's
Okay.
existing
All right.
ordinance.
Right, and the state law trumps our law in terms of cannabis, and especially if you have a medical card, but, you know, but we could get into that deeper if you like, but, this was the logical place to put it. It could have been a standalone new chapter.
Okay.
It's just easy to piggyback it to an existing similar enforcement mechanism. So I wouldn't read too much into the
Verbiage.
piggyback on the cannabis thing. It's not
Okay.
trying to link the two.
And it has nothing to do with prescription drugs, because I saw that psychoactive and psychotropic drugs are also mentioned in here, and that can include things like Adderall and Ritalin, which treat people that have ADHD and maybe narcolepsy. So that's, just wanted to make sure I understand clearly the ordinance, that we're not infringing on prescriptions or anyone that has a medical situation.
And no one's gonna prosecute prescription drugs if they have
Yeah.
a prescription
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so is there any other discussion or,
I don't know if I got a consensus, Mayor. I don't know how everyone's feeling. Are we comfortable passing the ordinance as
That's all.
introduced, or are we, do we want an amendment only prohibiting the sale? I don't know where everybody's at.
I'd like to see an amendment. for sale?
Only
Just
prohibiting the
only-
sale?
Yeah.
Personally, I think this will affect, I think this spills into the public safety realm as far as an addictive substance. So I think, having the tool and give the officer at least the ability to take this off the street would be a positive thing.
I'd really like to hear from Chief Ahart I just need more direction on this.
We've had limited, we've come across this just a limited time, handful of times right now. It's fairly new up here. Talked to numerous patrolmen. They've a couple of traffic stops. Just to clarify, it is illegal for anybody under 18 to have it. So, we're talking adults that will have this with them. If the kids, it's going to be no matter what. They have it on them, they try to buy it, whatever. So, I'm good with either one. Like I said, I just feel we start, like Trustee Weisenberg said, you start adding more to the guys, it's just more time off the street. But, we can ban the sale of it, and we can revisit it. If we start coming across, I'll bring that to you guys' attention. If we start seeing an uptick in it, which obviously we are, because Administrator Sutton's talked to Pekin and East Peoria, they're seeing it big over there. It doesn't take long for it to get over here. So.
Okay. Well, I know I'm 100% for prohibiting the sale of it. I just want to know how we can help our law enforcement, like what's better. It sounds like for sure prohibiting the sale and then revisiting if you see like a higher usage or.
Yeah, if we start seeing arrests with them, with that, the kratom in their possession, I can bring it to Administrator Sutton, we can revisit it.
I feel like I'd kind of like to leave the ordinance as is.
Okay.
Just because, like, if there is an uptick, this gives us the power to address it without having to wait to another meeting. Ultimately, yes, I want to prohibit the sale, bottom line, and I will agree to that if that's what the majority wants, but currently, I feel like I'd be leaning towards keeping the ordinance as is.
Okay.
Your officers do have the discretion to throw it in the gutter or whatever
sir.
on a traffic stop if they don't
Correct.
see a need to enforce.
Yeah, they have the same discretion as cannabis.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, are we ready for the question, or is there further debate to have on this item?
I have no doubt, Mayor, that this is a public health issue. One of the things that really concerns me about the penalty portion of this ordinance is that if we accept the fact that this is a public health issue, and these are people that really have addictions, I don't know how slapping fines on them helps. I definitely don't want to sell it. I definitely want to prohibit the sale. I'm struggling a little bit with the penalty part of this. Okay. I think I don't know how everyone's going to vote, but I think we're ready for the question if everyone's.
Call the question?
If
Okay.
everyone's comfortable proceeding.
So would you want to make an amendment to it and then we vote on that amendment and see how it goes, or what?
I can, but I feel that most, at least half, want to pass it as stated, so I don't want to waste anyone's time. I can amend it if you.
Why don't you make an amendment and see
Okay.
how the vote goes?
Okay. Mayor, I move, and council, I move to amend this ordinance only prohibiting the sale of kratom.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Weisenberg and a second by Trustee Simmons to amend the proposed motion to prohibit the sale only of the substance kratom. Any discussion on this motion?
Just briefly, Your Honor, that's going to require redrafting, and this isn't one that's appropriate to come up with simple language on the fly. So I would say if this motion is approved, I need to bring the new ordinance back to make sure I understand exactly what everybody's intent is. But, I get the difference between sale and possession, but that's a major redraft of what's in front of us, so I think it would be appropriate to bring it back.
Do we make a motion to defer?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
The possession of this There is a impound we take their vehicle away if the officer chooses to do so, correct? Is that
We,
still,
we do that with cannabis. That'd be something we'd have to discuss.
would that still be enforced here?
It would have to be added to the ordinance.
Oh,
The
the
list of
impound.
offenses in the administrative tow ordinance.
Okay, so they aren't even losing they would just get a ticket that they could,
Correct. Oh, it's
Okay.
written right now.
What's the next move?
Next move
The
would
vote.
be to
Vote on the amendment.
vote on this amendment. The delay is interesting. The delay is interesting.
I don't know exactly what language to put into effect, so my concern would be, I get it wrong.
Right. No. We gotta get it right. Okay. So on the motion, the amendment to make this ordinance, to delete the possession and keep the sale
So,
of it. And let me, is there a fine on the sale?
No. Not in its present form. Although you can't sell it without possessing it, so the store would be guilty of possession.
Okay.
so then that just stops the sale immediately.
Yeah,
We don't have to prove
I
it.
view a prohibition on possession as prohibiting possession and sale. You can't sell the substance without possessing the substance.
So that lowers the burden proof for the officers, they just have to find it in the store, and
Sure.
at that point, it's possession. That makes
So a
sense.
switch over to only prohibiting sale affects only the stores.
And that only affects the actual transaction if the officer can prove the transaction occurred. Or furtherance of the transaction.
You wouldn't be allowed to have a product on your shelf if we prohibit sale.
Okay.
Okay. Any other debate on the amendment? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle.
No.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
No.
Trustee Weisenberg.
aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
Motion carries 4-2. So now we are back to the amended motion, which procedurally, we still need to pass.
I think so. Yes, I think so, but again, I would want to bring this back on the next agenda for ratification.
So we'll need to pass it again.
Yes,
Okay.
in effect.
Okay. So we're now down to the amended motion. Is there any further questions on the amended motion? So this will be the first time we pass it, and then we'll pass it again in 2 weeks, or we'll have the opportunity to. Okay, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We are now down to approval of street closure on Prospect Road from Kelly Avenue to Glen Avenue on Thursday, September 24th for Taste of the Heights. Trustee Weisenberg?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Weisenberg, seconded by trustee DeVore. I do see President Cook, and I am sorry I didn't respond to you earlier today. He asked if he had to be here. I didn't say yes or no, but you are. So because you are here, if you want to come up to the podium and kind of talk a little bit about your project, which I think we all are very familiar with.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because we've been doing this for a number of years now, but basically we're requesting the road closure again for public safety for the Taste of the Heights. We are requesting additional hours for the road closure this year, backing it up to 7 a.m. We had a problem last year where there was a tremendous amount of street parking that had already been taken up, and trying to track down car owners for about an hour really messed up the flow of everything. We had to move generators, beer trucks, vendors, all of that stuff. And it caused a lot of wrinkles that lasted throughout the night. So that's the only thing that's different this year for our request, is to basically extend further in the morning. I think it didn't get shut down until about 9 or 10 a.m., somewhere around there last year. And that was far too late. There was probably 30 cars already on the street at that point.
I am slightly concerned that we're only closing from Kelly to Glen, and don't we normally close on just the north side of the intersection of Marietta?
So for the entirety of the taste, we always close up to Glen. That's been pretty standard. Now, the side streets, we only close maybe.
No, think the other way. So for one more block south, so you're stopping it at
gotcha.
Kelly, but I feel like there's still too much pedestrian
Yeah.
traffic from Kelly to Marietta for that to not be closed.
That's very true. So we usually throw the blockades up in front of the CVS parking lot. That way people can, on the north side of the CVS parking lot, just where the turn-ins are. That way people from Williams Brothers Construction can still get in and out and access their property throughout the day as we're setting up. And it gives vendors a way to get into the event without us having to move barricades the entire time. So it's technically right in between those two.
Okay. Chief, during the event, do you think that it should be closed at Marietta? Like, once the event starts?
We've done it that way for the last couple of years. We've shut it down just so they can access the CVS entrance.
Yeah.
And we, knock on wood, we have any problems with the new barricades that they put them up right
Okay.
there. It allows our squad cars or an ambulance to get in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say the public really appreciates the actual concrete barricades that we had up last year, especially with everything that happened at the festivals in Louisiana. It's a big deal, and people truly appreciated that.
Stephen, my question would be, with the new parking lot behind the PAPS building, that's gonna affect that as well. So I think there needs to be some dialogue with them on how that's gonna work.
Yes.
Whether it be another entrance, because with CVS not there, it's not as big of a deal where we close it off. That's the reason we did that in the past. But I think that's something we need to talk about. I know Superintendent Chandler and I discussed this today, how that was gonna work. And I know there's only a couple ways to get in and out of that lot. So I mean, that's something we'll have to have a discussion on, I think. But I would reach out to them to see what, you know, what they would work with you on, so.
Yeah, so that's scheduled to happen. Obviously, I had to get a date set first before I could reach out to them. But yeah, we ran into that problem last year because that parking lot was still at least under construction, and it was still being utilized. But there is another exit on the north side that allowed people to get out. It just kind of bottlenecked everything a little bit. But I think with enough heads up and with their cooperation, it won't be a problem.
Okay, great, thank you.
Will people need to utilize the parking lot for the Taste of the Heights? I mean, that's a lot of parking there.
Yeah, that's a great question. If they allow us to use it, I mean, I don't think they're going to just open it up for free or anything like that. I would expect them to still charge whatever their rate is, which would kind of dampen the public free parking, but it would give them kind of a more gated area that they can come in and out of.
Or ask them how much they make in a day and pay that number and have them open it up for free parking.
Right. Yeah, and we've talked about that, but if we are affiliated with any kind of parking facilities, we take liability for it. And we don't want to take a liability for pedestrians walking through a parking lot and maybe getting hit, or cars getting hit, that kind of thing, so. We stay really hands-off on the parking side.
Understood, but it was utilized last time too, so I
Yes.
mean, you assume the same responsibility, so.
Yeah, we just didn't officially tell anyone that they could use that. People just kind of found places to park.
I'm sure they'll find an attorney for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, and then Superintendent Chandler, you'll provide those concrete barriers and the early times, don't you?
Yeah, we can definitely come out earlier, for sure. I understand what you're talking about, for sure.
Okay. Any other comments on closing Prospect? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert? Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you on September 24th.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're down to ordinance 2026-1784, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a TIF redevelopment agreement by and between the Village of Peoria Heights, Peoria County, Illinois, and SRP Capital LLC. Trustee Kazam?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-1784.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Kazam and seconded by trustee Weisenberg. Trustee Kazam?
Yeah, so this is in your packets. This is a redevelopment agreement between the village and the entity that bought the Prospect Mall building. I see both a representative from that development group here this evening if they'd like to speak, and then Mark Lee as well as here if anyone has any questions on the redevelopment agreement.
And Nick Nelson.
And Nick, I'm so sorry, and Nick as well. We have an entire team. Natalie, would you like to come up and talk?
Good evening. I am a co-owner of SRP Capital. I apologize, my husband couldn't be here. He had a previous meeting, but I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Well, for one, I took the opportunity to sneak in there the other day. I saw Dylan Plumbing in there doing a lot of work. Looks like you've added an elevator, windows, new entrances and exits.
Correct. We will be ADA compliant.
Okay.
So both buildings will have a lift that will allow wheelchair accessibility to the basement units as well. We have added the windows below Artemis Spa to beautify it and also just to allow the basement garden level to be more aesthetically pleasing as well. So that is all going in with the development also.
Great.
So are you changing the use of the building from what it was before at all?
So we have two current anchor tenants, which is Baird Financial and Artemis Spa. And one of those is a tax-generating entity. They have looked at expanding because they are doing so well, so they may be expanding their square footage within the building. We have, in phase 2, we have our third tenant, which is Rosie's Wine Bar. They will be coming in on the upstairs level next to Artemis Spa, and they will be tax-generating as well. We have a fourth tenant that is currently in the works that would be tax generating also, but due to the NDA, I can't say who that is currently. So it used to be more retail based from what I know of the history of it. Then when we purchased it a year and a half ago approximately, we had those anchor tenants and we kept them in there, and now we are currently updating whatever remaining areas were not yet occupied.
Thank you.
So you're asking for a TIF reimbursement up to $1.5 million, correct, on this?
Correct, because there are 3 phases.
Tell me more about the shipping container retail.
Yes, so that would be phase 3. So where Prospect Mall is, we have the parking lot behind it. It would be the property behind that is 1216 East Duryea, and we own that as well. We are looking to partner with the village to rezone that. It's in a commercial area. All the other buildings on that street are commercialized already. What we would like to do is take that older home down and create I don't know if you've seen the photos of it, the container-based development. It would be.
I have. Yes.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It would be dedicated retail-based development that would attract new startups that would be tax-generating is our goal.
So are these containers affixed to the ground with footings and?
Yes.
So they
yes.
will be a permanent structure?
They would be a permanent structure, yes.
Okay.
And then we would work with James Kemper, the architect, with the site map. We've already started to speak with some engineers and designers about the containers as well, because we want them to be very novel, but also beautify the community.
Yeah. I will just be kind of honest about this. I have issues with buying a property that you know needs rehabbed and then coming to us and asking for money. If we're going to be diverting money from all the taxing bodies, including the school, the park district, everything like that, we're entrusted with that money to make sure it's for revitalization of the community and infrastructure and things like that. So I have a hard time if let's, for example, if somebody buys a flip house, coming to the table and saying, well, now I want the municipality to pay for my flip of this house. Because when you purchase the property, you purchase it at a price that's reduced because it does have cold dark shell or something's not built out or something of that nature. So diverting that money that eventually will translate to the real estate taxes of our residents, because 90-some% of our commercial real estate is in a TIF district right now. The only tax base that the EAV that the school district and everybody else can draw off of is residential. So for us to come back and say, we're gonna take that money, put that burden onto our residential population, and then why are we doing this? And I don't think we're increasing any, other than the shipping containers, we aren't increasing square footage or anything like that. We don't have anything through planning, anything through zoning yet, a site plan for the shipping containers, do we?
No, but my argument to all of this would be that since 2016, when we developed our comprehensive plan, we decided at that point to embark on developing TIF zones in our community. And we advertise that, and we're very proud of it and have been, to encourage development in our community. So when commercial developers come into our community and they know that this is a tool that we have in our toolbox along with the BDD and other things, and develop and spend their money, and then we don't utilize the tool that we've been promoting this time, I feel like that's very disingenuous. And I think there's been a tremendous amount of improvement to this particular property that will definitely raise the property taxes that then go back to pay the TIF. So I don't know if Nick is here, this evening, wants to add anything to that, the way TIF works, but.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to get anything from this agreement, it's going to have to come from the raised EAV. And then at the end of the 23-year period, then all the taxing bodies do get levied as that increase. So,
And Nick, would you come to the podium so everyone could hear you at home?
yeah, sorry, like I was saying, in order for the developer to get anything from this agreement, by necessity, they're going to have to increase the EAV. And then at the end of this TIF district, all that comes under the tax rolls, and all of the taxing bodies can levy against that. So whether it's a rehab project or, a new home or a new anything, the mechanics of it work the exact same, and that's the entire reason why you want to have this TIF district, and why it covers, your downtown corridor, because those are all existing buildings, and I think a lot of good has happened to those buildings through the use of TIF, and this is just another one of those projects. So,
Nick, can you also explain how this, village has protected the school district, and how TIF really works with how the school district gets their money? Because I feel like that is not coming out clear across the board up here.
I would love to explain that.
Thank you.
So every year a taxing body will figure out what its need is, submit its levy to the county, okay? The taxing bodies will always get their levy. That levy is applied to all non-TIF EAV within a district, okay? So this property being in a TIF doesn't cost any taxing body any money, all right? Now, the only impact that can possibly have is if a taxing body wants to come in and say, oh, well, you'd get that development anyway. And if that were to be the case, it wouldn't impact the dollars they get, it would just impact the tax rate. So if they had more EAV to levy against, then the rate, ostensibly would go down. So, but in terms of dollars coming in, it has no impact on that. And that's an important question.
And I think, and I don't want to cut you off, Trustee DeVore, but I think specifically with the village of Peoria Heights, what Trustee DeVore is getting at is we have cut the school district specifically special deals so that they get a higher percentage, even above what they would get normally through a TIF. They get additional revenue from our TIF. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, and there's two positive, if there can be a positive impact because of a TIF to a taxing body, there actually are two for schools. One, there's generally an inverse relationship between EAV and a school district and how much state aid that it gets. So generally, as EAV goes up in a school body or school district, their state aid goes down. However, if that EAV goes up in a TIF district, there's no negative impact on the state aid level. So that's one. Two, there is an intergovernmental agreement with the school district and this TIF district. So I don't remember the exact details of it, but there is some increment sharing. And so, again, the money that comes from the village's TIF and goes to the school districts, that's in addition to their levy. So that's extra money that they get.
Okay. And with the life of this TIF, I am seeing in this redevelopment agreement, it says up to $1.5 million, but it's looking like the projection is not going to be $1.5 million.
The projection was initially less than $500,000, again, due to the nature of a rehab versus a new construction project. The developer asked to increase that to 1.5 million. I originally had 500,000 just because I didn't want to chip away at the total estimated cost in your TIF plan. Increasing it another $1 million isn't going to, really impact all that much. The developer asked for it. If they do great and they can get that, that's good for everybody.
So they would only get up to $1.5 million if they generated that.
Yeah, this is a pay-as-you-go agreement, and that's why pay-as-you-go agreements are great, because really what we're negotiating is the percentage of reimbursement of what they do generate. And so, 75% is what this agreement pays, so it's 75% of a small number or a larger number if they're able to increase the EAV quite a bit.
But the projection is that it would be around 450,000.
That's correct.
Right.
And it's hard to project out. It's hard to project out rehab projects, but even more so, there aren't a lot of shipping container projects in the area. I know of one, so it's a little bit harder to project that. So it's possible that does raise the EAV quite a bit, but there is an existing home on that property that's going to get demolished, and so there's going to be kind of a negative EAV until the new shipping containers get built.
Sure. And just to clarify to my fellow board members, that will all have to go through zoning.
Yes. That all
So,
has to
I
go.
mean, that's a down the road situation anyway, so that's a whole different ballgame on top of talking about this agreement.
I'm just curious, what's the life of the TIF? Is it 18?
This is TIF District 3, and I think we have,
It goes through 40-something.
42?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
2042.
okay.
I guess my concern here is that we're attaching a 75% TIF reimbursement to a house where somebody tells us that they're gonna build something. It sounds like what we've had before come in front of this board. And to me, that's unsettling. I think if we're gonna go into an agreement, then what we have to do is we have to understand what they're doing and what we're going to be paying for and what we're going to be going into an agreement with them for on this.
I hear you, because I feel like I've been through a lot of these where we have not had the upper hand and things have been really,
And we're taking people's words on things again.
correct. However, the redevelopment agreements then versus the redevelopment agreements now look vastly different. No one that is sitting here today was sitting here when that initial redevelopment agreement was sitting here, and things went through that probably or would never go through at this point today. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned, and as this community and as this board has gotten stronger and we have become a more, our development has become more successful, I think we've learned a lot of things. I don't think you can go into it, in my opinion, I don't think you can go into it and say, I know exactly how every single part of a three-phase project is gonna go. However, because we have hired attorneys and stuff like that, that we now have the protection of the pay-as-you-go, instead of agreeing up front, which is what's happened in the past, we agree up front that we will pay for this if you do basically nothing. We're saying now, we'll agree to this, but only if you produce. So I feel like the agreement in which you're talking to versus this agreement now are different. So I personally don't feel that we're being as risky because it's a pay-as-you-go and what the projections are lined up to be.
But there is zero stipulation on what they have to build on this. It just says.
So then they get no money.
Well, they can still build something, and as long as the EAV goes up, they still get they still get reimbursed.
There is an obligation to complete the project as that project is described in this agreement. If you want to, beef up that provision, I mean, I'd take whatever direction you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I would be comfortable as long as phase 3 and these other phases, we say tax generating business, that we have a minimum percentage of gross revenue comes from sales tax. I think that's fair, because if we're gonna take the money, like, I understand the school district has a different deal than most places, but we are still reducing that dollar amount. We are taking dollars away from that, and they will get the amount of money that they need to get. And if it means increasing their overall tax levy that the residential population burdens with, then yeah, I mean, that's where my concern is. I think that we need to make sure that sales tax is coming in the door, so that as a community, we can grow and add money naturally through people spending money in the village. And I would like, I don't know about anybody else here, but I would eventually like to just do away with our end of the real estate taxes in the village. If we had enough sales tax coming in and we didn't need that money, I'd be fine with it. But without having, it's just like adding offices and medical clinics and things like that, where we get very little sales tax, then that really doesn't, we increase our population, increases the road infrastructure usage, it increases all the other infrastructure uses, the police protection, the fire protection. We just had one come in here where they talked about adding 300 new people to the village during our daytime population. That's a 5% increase in our population that we have to bear. So sales tax, I think, is important to generate from these TIF agreements so that we can grow as a community and add to our budget to offset some of the costs that we're going to expend helping out with this. I understand we're still gonna get some TIF money, the 25% left over, but I think that there needs to be some stipulation in there that this is sales tax generating, something that has a minimum threshold that they have to hit in order to recoup this money, or a sliding scale, not just 75%. Even Mr. Pearl didn't ask for a 3-phase TIF agreement right off the bat, if I remember correctly.
He's in a 5-phase program,
Yeah. Yeah.
And his TIF agreement, redevelopment agreement covers those 5 phases.
All 5?
All 5, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a specific amendment that you wanted to make to this?
I would like to, I would ask that we just go with we look into a sliding scale of some kind or a minimum threshold for sales tax generating, what metric? Do you have some advice on that? And I'm sure this has come up in TIF before.
Yeah, there's a lot of variations of it, and beyond what I can come up with, then it comes down to negotiating with what the developer is comfortable with. We have agreements where there is a minimum threshold, so each year that you attain $20,000 in retail sales, then you get the 75%. You can do it that way, or you can make, if you want to tie the amount of sales tax generated to the TIF reimbursement they get up to, again, have all the limits in place, we could do it that way. Sliding scales are a little bit harder just because it's harder to define, where the delineations are. So there's whatever you can imagine up, we can put in an agreement. But the more you tie a multi-unit commercial building, landlords are really going to be hesitant with that because they're just trying to fill the building, and you guys want that. And they can't guarantee that's going to be a retail generating entity. So you got to kind of be a little bit careful with the.
And I get that. Looking at our Prospect Strip, our top threshold for retail is generally about $18 a square foot is what they're willing to pay. Once you go beyond that, you really don't see the overall health of that retail business. They're usually gone fairly quick. But professional services, attorneys, financial, medical, they will pay the $21, $22, $23 a foot triple net costs, and that is a much more attractive thing for a landlord to take. But if we're going to give this TIF reimbursement, the landlord should either say, I want more TIF money, and I'm going to do my due diligence and bring in more retail sales. And that's a great argument for saying, I need some offset in this cost because retail generally is a lower per square foot price.
All right, tell you, the other thing you could do is if you want to create 2 different reimbursement rates, one just as a baseline, they get it because they're doing the project. They are going to increase the AV. They have to if they want to get reimbursement. So they are doing the project, and then a higher amount if whatever retail benchmark you want is in there. So maybe they get 75% in any year that they generate X retail sales, and then they get 50% in any year that they don't. Something like that.
that would be beneficial. That we're just trying to make sure that the village is if we're going to do this, we're making sure we're looking out for our residential population as well. And I think that right now, the stage that you're in before you do a lot of this leasing, you can require that. A lot of shopping centers will require that you provide financial numbers the same that you provide to the state as part of their lease. And I've seen Metro Center has done that for a long time, and there are a lot of shopping centers. They look at the financial viability of the tenants, and it helps the landlord as well, because if you have a tenant that's struggling, where you can look at your marketing dollars as a facility as well, or you can say, how can we address this? How can we help you? Is there something that we can do to help you out? Because nobody here is going to be benefiting from a business going under on Prospect.
No.
But I think at the same time, if you as a landlord are saying, I need more TIF money because I'm gonna take a slightly lower rate for sales tax generating business, I'm your advocate, right? But if you're gonna say, I'm gonna take the higher dollar amount from a professional service that pays little to no sales tax, and I want this TIF reimbursement, to me, that's a problem. Because that's not us being a good steward of our money that we are entrusted with, regardless of the agreements that we have with our population.
I think, I mean, I really respect everything you're saying, Trustee Steinwaddle, and I agree that sales tax is one of the most critical things that we have, or we need to gain in our community in order to support all these other wonderful things that we want to do, including fire and safety and everything else. I personally am very comfortable with the way this agreement is written this evening. Going forward, I would not object at all of having this conversation and drilling down on specific developments that come into our community. But with the amount of investment and the phase that they're in right now, I think it doesn't do any good to the developer or the community to postpone this. And I had a question for you, Mrs. Carroll. Do you have an LOI from the wine bar?
Yes.
You do, okay.
Yes,
So
and they are slotted to start indoor construction, I believe it's April 1st.
Okay, so they have inherited a tenant that's Baird, that does not produce sales tax, but it does produce, you know, wonderful jobs in our community that then patron our sales tax generating businesses. And that, again, was a tenant that you inherited when you purchased the property.
Correct. And we know that sales tax is a big deal. So for us as landlords, it's been a priority to try and attract sales generating tenants.
Tenants. Okay, great. And we're really happy to hear that and appreciate it so much. And then you have Artemis that does produce sales tax. It's a service and a sales tax generating business, so it's not like a restaurant, but now you're looking at this wine bar and then potentially another one that you can't disclose. So
Correct.
in this instance, I feel very comfortable voting this evening. I don't know how my fellow trustees feel, but definitely going forward, I hear what you're saying, and I'd like to work with you on that.
My advice on this would be to take that house at the back of the property out of this. Take this out of the agreement altogether, the 006 parcel, and revisit it when you want to build something there. When you do get to phase 3, like I said, I'll be your biggest advocate if you're putting retail in there.
That's,
But
I mean,
when,
that's our goal.
but, and we hear that, and I will tell you, like, these things always change from start to finish. Financing changes, you know, rates from the banks change, you know, commitment from investors change, commitment from tenants change. We'll be your biggest advocate to get retail in there, and if you can get a grocery store in there, get out of our way, right? But at the same time, I think we should probably take that parcel out and just not grandfather in a TIF agreement to this, and let's work together and bring in a retail or a sales tax generating business back there. And at that point, we'll help you. I mean, like I said, a grocery store if you want, I'm all for it.
I have no problem with any trustee wanting anything in the agreement, I really don't. But I also want to remind some of the trustees that we are supposed to be business friendly here. That's why we've been so successful.
Absolutely.
And I think when we get the pay-as-you-go, since I've been the administrator, has worked for us. We've been very successful. It protects us. And I think somebody that's going to put in this big of an investment, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're probably going to be successful. If not, they're not going to get their money. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. I'm pretty comfortable with this agreement as is. I appreciate your input, Trustee Steinwaddle, but again, I go back to being business friendly, and we have to be able to trust the people that are coming to us to want to throw an anchor and develop here. And I think this is a good example of, you know, they will be a success. But you're right, sales tax, as you know how everybody in this horseshoe knows how I feel about sales tax. You know, that's how we pay the bills. But I want to stress the point that we've been successful because we've been business friendly. You know, it doesn't mean we turn a blind eye. We've been, you know, we've done our due diligence, but I think that there's a fine line by going over that line where it comes into micromanaging people doing this type of construction and development. I know you have a little bit of history there, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds and add 3 or 4 more layers where we scare development away. That's my concern. So,
That's fair.
yeah.
So I just got 2 quick questions, very quick. So the use of TIF agreements, they typically communities typically use them for older properties to redevelop them. So the intent is you buy an older building that needs work, and then you enter into a redevelopment agreement to basically redevelop that property. Is that the general intent?
It can be any type of property, and you, and I'm not gonna limit it to just old properties
Right,
that,
right.
you know, like what they're doing that needed kind of a rehab or a fresh life. Cause as great as that is, and it's very, very important, and for your strip especially, it's been critical, but you also need a fair amount of new construction,
Right.
because that really isn't gonna generate a lot of increment. Trusters is probably the best example of this. The amount of tools that had to be used to make that go off, it was every tool that was possibly available, and TIF increment alone wasn't gonna get that done. So you do need a fair amount of new construction, because that is gonna generate that new AV and generate that new TIF increment, and so, you know, both types of projects are just as important.
Okay. And then a question for the developer, the shipping container building, is that similar to the one, and isn't there one like in Hannah City, like a coffee shop or something?
Yeah, the coffee can.
Coffee can, is that what we're talking about?
Kind of, yeah, it's kind of the similar, like a novel concept, but
Right.
still really beautiful. And we would like to work with Distillery Labs to help startups especially get in there at an affordable rate.
That's awesome.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah. And you intend to keep the parking back there non-gated and free?
correct.
Okay, all right.
We want to be, community driven when it comes to that parking lot. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, hearing that, is there any more questions or concerns to come before the board? Mark, anything to say? You've been here the whole meeting. Great, yeah. Okay, well, hearing no more comments, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you and congratulations. Now we're down to approval of bid evaluation and notice of intent to award for lead service line inventory. Trustee Simmons?
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion for approval of bid evaluation and notice of intent to award for lead service line inventory.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Simmons, seconded by Trustee DeVore. Trustee Simmons.
Thank you. Woodard and Curran had reviewed bids in January for the Peoria Heights lead service line inventory project. And I'm wanting to share that J.C. Dillon Incorporated has came in with commendable bid with $49,955. And we do have $40,000 as a grant that came through from the EPA, which will be awarded towards that number. And we will need to make up the difference to continue getting all of those investigations done on this project. And that would be the total of $9,555. Or, excuse me, $955. Wanted to quote it correctly.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Simmons. Any other comments on this item?
And I do want to mention too, if I may, that moving forward, we could just do the $40,000, but it makes sense to continue this project and get those lead lines investigations done because these are unknown and we need to prove what is lead out there. And then this project will also minimize the work that's needed to be done when the replacement contractors come in to do the actual work.
Right. I mean, Superintendent Chandler, from what I understand, what is unknown is considered lead.
It is assumed lead, yes, correct, until it's proven it's not. And this helps prove it's not or is and needs replaced.
Can someone remind me what the deadline is for when we have to identify all of the lead lines by?
Well, since they are unidentified, they are known as lead right now.
Right.
So they've been identified.
Okay.
We have so many years to replace all of.
Okay.
And we are meeting our deadlines. I don't have that date, but I can get that.
No, that's
for you,
okay.
Trustee.
At one point, we had to identify by a certain date or whatnot, so I
Yeah,
just
that
confused
was
you.
done.
Right,
That-
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's been
yeah.
done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're down to the moment we've all been waiting for, the 250th celebration discussion with Trustee Reichert.
All right, I don't have to make a motion or anything to discuss it, right?
No.
Okay, all right. So right now, set in stone, I have, like, a long list of ideas. But in order to have ideas, I think we need to start with a date and potentially a budget. And right now I have an impersonator of one of our founding fathers that somebody reached out to me that they got a grant to do this, and we are one of their recipients of it. So they're gonna be an impersonator for us to portray John Adams.
John Quincy Adams or John Adams?
I think just John Adams.
Okay.
I didn't ask that question. I
John
know-
Quincy was the son of a founding
Yes,
father, so.
So I know we have
Different
talked about trying to organize like a carnival type thing. Some of the stuff that I have looked into or thought about is kind of keeping it old fashioned and maybe like more of like a birthday party kind of feel to it, much more than a carnival type thing. Old fashioned games like, you know, ring toss or ball in a bucket kind of thing. Maybe more of a picnic kind of style, not so much fanciness, because you know, everybody in the founding fathers, everybody was very humble and came from not very much. And I want to make sure that this does not become an event that everybody doesn't feel like they're welcome at. I don't want to charge a whole bunch of stuff and try to, you know, alienate people that can't afford it. I do want to include the businesses, food vendors, things like that. I'd like to incorporate some of our businesses. One of the things I would love to figure out is work with Treskers on a giant birthday cake, red, white, and blue themed, and figure out what it would take to have like everybody that comes can get a cupcake, like with an American flag on it, or, I mean, keep in mind, I have no budget, so right now the sky's the limit for me.
$0.
$0. Everybody.
I have $0
The
for you.
business have heard, everybody needs to donate. I'd like to reach out to some of the local, bands, not rock bands, but more like, orchestral bands, to play some of the older music, some of our 4th of July style music. I want to get with the NAMAC, the VFW, Lions Club, all of those military groups to incorporate them into something. I want to get the schools involved. I want to name the woodpecker. I have a proposal that I will email to everybody that was sent to me from the person that came up with the idea on the alumni committee. She wrote out a very nice written proposal on how she kind of sees it going. I met with the Alumni Association this past week and did say that when it comes to the school side of things, because of them being done in May, their portion of a lot of this stuff needs to get done sooner rather than later. Because once school's summer break hits, kids scatter and, you know, they're not as involved in stuff. But if we can start figuring out some things that they can be involved in for the summer to try to help with this event, it gives them something to do as well, like different things like through the library or through the churches or any of that stuff.
And I think, you know, as far as timing, and you brought up a very interesting point, because everyone assumes like July 4th, right? But if we do July 4th, we are competing with every other
That's right.
municipality,
Right, so
park
that's why
district.
I have not put that date down, like I was
think,
not thinking it.
I think, and with the school, if we pushed it to like the later summer, we could get the school involved, the students involved too, which I think would be good.
Well, and it's no coincidence that it is Peoria Heights Patriots for the school mascot. So to be able to incorporate some of that kind of into it. The other thing, cool idea that I came up with, very minimal idea, but usually during our holidays, our patriotic holidays, we line the streets with the American flags.
Yes.
I would like to see us do it with antique flags. for this, just for the day of this event. So, like, I know right now, just sitting in my garage, I've got 5 flags that are that have that only have 48 stars on them.
I've got one as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, and they don't all have to be like, 250 years old, but I'm saying, to be able to line the streets with historic flags of the past, they don't have to be authentic. We can find ways to have, all the different ones that have been created throughout the original 10 colonies or.
And even
original
if you don't
colonies.
have enough, you can sprinkle in.
Yes,
the-
and sprinkle in the more modern stuff, and we can have some of the military flags kind of along there too, and just for the day of the event, just a way to kind of incorporate all the history into it. Like to figure out a way to get a really large flag, and we can do something with that, and, so, I mean, all spitballing ideas for my $1 million budget.
Well, I like some, and.
He likes some of them.
Having, well, no, like in all of the flags idea, I think is really good. I think, one flag in particular, if we wanted to focus on like on a antique or flag, it'd be the flag at the top of the tower, where we could put up a 13 colonies flag or something like that. I don't know how many holes we have on Prospect for flags, but
And like I said, I mean, and they can be placed someplace a little bit, we could have them just around Village Hall even, if need be. Where ultimately the event would take place, and in the pavilion there, different kind of things, maybe we can get the school choir to perform, or if St. Thomas or.
Well, we just had the municipal band in front of us, right? Asking for 3 dates. I wonder if one of their concerts
Wouldn't that
could
be
be
great?
patriotic music.
That would be great. And a
Or do
parade.
you think it's set already, Mayor?
they set their own.
Yeah.
They do have, I've been to some of the Peoria Heights Municipal Band concerts, and there's the other group that we just talked to.
River Valley Big Band.
The big band, yeah.
Yes.
And they do have a little bit of, John Philip Sousa mixed in there, but they also will play their own repertoire of other stuff that they practiced.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we could reach out and see. I'm sure that would be a great thing to do, and maybe we book them for an additional event
Okay, that's,
to have them do stuff. And
so are you thinking, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Trustee Simmons, that this event, I mean, the first thing you said is choosing a date, would happen when the school is back in session at the end of the summer, which is August?
17th, I think, is when.
Okay.
when does
next
the
school year
football?
starts.
When does football start?
I'd say a week or two after that.
Okay, but the last event that we did was in like conjunction with the Taste, right? Like the quincentennial, is that,
Yes.
how do you say that?
Yeah.
Okay, was in conjunction with the Taste, which I felt like made like a fun, full weekend, right? So is it?
True.
Would it be smart to plan it, like the weekend after the Taste? So like Thursday we have the Taste, Friday we have
That's a
one
good
thing,
idea.
Saturday's like the main event, right?
Are
Because
we
we
gonna-
talked about like doing time capsule
So-
stuff,
Yeah.
like.
Right.
And the only thing that concerned me with the idea of that is that putting too much on the businesses, because I do want the businesses to be involved in this as well,
Yeah.
in some way, so does that put too much strain on the businesses of having to do the first event and then having to do something, say, that Saturday, or?
Well, I know you're looking at me because I own a business, but
Yes.
I don't make food, so I feel like I cannot answer that question fairly. It will not be too much on my business, but I don't know, like, for like Robbie, for example, if they were
Right.
gonna bring something up, or,
Yeah.
the Clink, if
Well,
they're gonna have their, I'm
Robbie,
not sure.
I know Robbie wants to be involved in this as well, so, I mean, if we want to form kind of, like we did for the, what was it, quincentennial? Is that what? Well, like we did for that, we can form like a committee that's a little bit of somebody from everything to try to kind of figure all that out. And
could do a
I'm
new
fine with that
committee.
date.
Well,
I,
I,
What?
Could do a new committee if we want. Or we can just drive this.
I
We
think
can
just
drive it, we
it.
can,
Let's
yeah, we
drive
can
it.
drive it, that's fine. I
So
don't care.
maybe we could like.
you
do-
know, well, sorry, just looking at historical dates, you've got July 2nd. That is when Congress voted in favor of the Lee resolution declaring the colonies independent from British rule. So if you're looking for dates outside of July 4th, like you said, July 2nd. And then August 2nd was when most of the signers of the Declaration of Independence actually signed it. That's when it was fully ratified.
So July
The
2nd
second
falls
is
on a
between
Thursday.
Yeah, that's.
I
And
think
then-
there's gonna be a
It
lot
needs
of
to be a
people traveling
weekend.
and stuff. I think we should stay away from the 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More attendance on a weekend.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. And you're right, we're competing with everything else that'll be going
That week,
on.
it's gonna be huge.
Red, Right,
Especially-
and Boom.
Red, White, and Boom, but also
Yeah.
the museum downtown has all
Yeah.
their events and stuff
That's
like
right.
that, so it'll.
Great
I
idea,
think
but-
the second date you threw out is a good one.
August 2nd?
Yeah,
That's a Sunday.
Except
Ooh,
people
that's
like
tough on a
travel
Sunday.
right before school starts, but, or the taste weekend would be good too, because.
Yeah, I'm open for any of it. I know when I talked to like the alumni, the date of the all-class reunion had kind of come up too, but once again, I still think that that's cramming a
That's
lot into a
September.
little space, or a little bit of time. So I
So my-
want to stay away from that too, but that's gonna fall sometime at the end of September, so I
And
think.
Okay, but
September's not as
this is
hot.
also at the end of September, so my concern is homecoming, all-class reunion lining up the same weekend as the taste,
Homecoming is
the
10th of
10th?
October? Yeah, it's in October this
It's in
year.
October,
Yes.
okay.
And
So
September's usually a
then
little
my
cooler
vote would be to
too.
do it at the taste.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
it the
yeah.
weekend of the taste. But, I mean, maybe we could reach out, that we could tentatively plan
Yeah,
that. like, reach
I
out
just
to
want to
people.
make sure that it doesn't overwhelm the businesses, especially the food-driven businesses.
Sure.
Like, because I'm assuming they don't make a ton of money when they do the taste. It's more of the
I think
exposure.
I don't want to speak for all the businesses, but I think that's a good evening for them, because
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
do the
okay.
taste, but then patrons
Business.
go into the businesses, like
Okay,
for a full
no, that's
meal.
fine. That part of it I've never really gotten into, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't overwhelming them in some way.
I think having a break of a day helps, right? Like if they have that on Thursday, we do something more ceremonial or nothing on Friday, and then having our event on Saturday gives them a day to
And
recuperate.
what's the date
The
of that?
24th.
So am I hearing a consensus that we hold our celebration on September 24th?
I wanted to, if I may.
Well, no, well, September 24th would be the taste, so then
Or the
it would be our
26th.
celebration would be the 26th.
Okay, 26th. Do I have a consensus on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the 26th of September?
26th of September.
And I wanted to ask, if I may, are you considering a rain date? Just in case, not
Well,
trying
I
to
am
make this
now.
difficult, but it is something to think about. And then I noticed one thing you didn't mention was a parade. That would be a huge kickoff.
So here's my about a parade is, I know when it comes to homecoming for the high school, they have a really hard time getting anybody involved in the parade. Minus like the floats and things like that. And I don't know if it would be a different situation for this with the businesses and stuff, but.
Homecoming is kind of really geared more towards, I know this, we want community participation, and I enjoy it. I was out of town, or I would have been there myself this last time. But I know a lot of people think of it as for the kids, you know what I mean?
Right,
So maybe
right,
there's
and I'm not
people
saying,
that-
but in the past, I mean, as the years have gone by from when we went, when we were in school, I mean, it was a lot of the businesses.
It was
and
huge.
It was huge, and it's kind of
Yes.
just like tapered off
Well,
as
I've
the
got-
years have gone on, so
I've
I
already
don't.
spoke with a few agencies, and they're interested in doing a parade.
Okay, I mean, if we could get it, if we could drum up enough interest that we could have a parade, then I'd be all for it. I'd have no problem with that whatsoever.
I think
Essentially,
we've made some really good progress
Yeah.
this evening.
did.
And we've gotten that date set. I think we'll go with that.
Yep.
And then, I think a
Maybe
lot
when
of
we get
these.
closer, we can talk of a tentative delay
Yeah,
or
one second,
rain
let me
date,
hold
but.
by this and then you do the
Rain or
final.
I know the department, I've talked to Chief Sentes, he actually brought up a special patch and decal for this.
Yeah, so that was another thing that I've looked at too, is, the last time we did a commemorative coin was at the 75th. It might be kind of nice to do like a two-sided coin, one for the 250th, but then also because we, put the Heights Tower on the other side of it, kind of deal, and kind of incorporate us into it. I would love to look into the options for that.
Budget.
Yeah, I think that's right. So
And-
I think
And they
at
could be
this
something
point,
that is purchased, like the coins or the commemorative
they
coins
were
could be something
purchased back then
purchased.
too,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So yeah, I think what we'll do is, I think we come to Administrator Sutton and kind of look at the budget, and budget season, we're gonna be looking into that pretty soon here. So I think the next step, we just kind of put some goalposts around what we're looking at in terms of dollars.
I do have one more question, just while we're all sitting here. Do we have an ordinance on horses on Prospect?
Uh-oh.
I know, I could just picture him in a Yankee
The
Doodle
chief?
costume, riding a horse right up Prospect, can
Well,
you?
haven't we done carriage rides and that type of thing in the past?
You know what, I don't recall, I don't know, have we done carriage rides in the past? I've never ridden in a carriage
I
on
don't
Prospect.
really see the officers enforcing,
I
ordinance
think
on.
we can,
Okay.
I think we can press a variance for it.
We could,
I just happen to know somebody who's, I has probably horses that might be able to help us with this.
I also have a friend
Free,
that
I'm hoping.
does carriage rides at Christmas time at Grand Prairie.
That helps my budget.
So
Yeah.
we have
All right.
Mayor,
Something to think about.
could I just bring up one other thing? I know time is of the essence, we've been here for a long time, but another thing that Trustee Reichert and Trustee Simmons and I have been discussing is an association with District 325 and the Peoria Riverfront Museum, and they have an initiative, which is Every Student Initiative. It offers amazing benefits to the students at the school to have free access to the museum, and in this year, particularly with what the museum is doing and their Promise of Liberty event at the museum, will be there for an entire year where students will be able to see like the Declaration of Independence, Martin Luther King's speech, that type of thing. That's something that we're working on, and we have someone that's willing to do kind of a matching funds thing there are about 408 students, Trustee Reichert told me, between K and 8 at the school. So $20 a student, that's $8,160.
I thought the program is every student is paid for.
It is,
But you have to find the sponsors.
They need a sponsor.
Sponsors.
So
we have an anonymous sponsor
we have an
as well.
anonymous sponsor that was willing to do $5,000 if we can find matching funds, or maybe the school is willing to participate with some, maybe not the entire, balance, or just something.
Just some of it,
So we plan on meeting with the school next week, is
Okay.
basically what we're getting at.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I do know our curriculum director, and I've told Trustee Kazam this, that our curriculum director has actually wanted to get us involved in this for a couple of years. So now we've got kind of the push to do it, so. And this will be an
Amazing program.
opportunity, I can guarantee you, this is an opportunity that a majority of our kids will never see the Declaration of Independence in person in Washington, or some of these things. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a lot of these
And
kids.
also, if we were to pull this off, we would be their 50th school, so we would get a lot of press about it.
That's awesome.
Trustee Simmons has something to say.
Yeah, I thought tonight was great conversation. Jen, thank you so much. Personally, I appreciate all the information on the 250, and I have something to give to the village here. I don't know really where to go to show, but I'd like to donate the first flag.
Nice.
Oh,
All
wow.
right.
Nice.
Get a good picture.
Thank you, Trustee Simmons.
That's great. Well, thank you, Trustee Simmons.
You put the receipt on my desk, didn't you?
Thank you. Okay, now we're down to general comments from the audience. If you do have a comment, please come to the podium, give your name, address, and try to keep it to 5 minutes.
I'm going to read the room and keep it well clear of the 5 minutes, actually. Adrian Kavner from 4961 North Grandview. I wanted to come tonight and commend Superintendent Chandler and the whole Public Works crew. About 2 weeks ago, I got home from work, 12:30 in the morning, found a water main that runs right through my backyard had broken. He was out there 1 a.m. or so to assess that situation, get things lined up for the next day, and then his guys were working basically for a day and a half to get all of that mess cleaned up, and then start to put things back together. We're waiting for warmer weather to finalize it all, but nobody likes to see their yard get torn up, but it's great when people are nice about it, do hard work, and come out to be a good team. So I appreciate that very much. Definitely a great person heading up that department. And then while I'm here, really, really briefly too, just some unsolicited opinions about the golf cart discussion that happened last month. My hometown in Northeast Illinois actually has golf carts allowed on the streets. Yes, many people follow the rules. Many people are totally fine with it. Many people don't care at all what the rule is, and it is an absolute disaster to police that. So I just think it was very telling. All of the people in the room who have public safety experience seemed very hesitant or outright opposed, and I would throw myself into that group as well. putting a seatbelt on a golf cart does not make it safe. It is not designed with crumple zones in the same way that a automobile is. So I would just throw that out there, like I said, as an unsolicited opinion, not to dampen the praise for Superintendent Chandler, which is my main reason for being here. So thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for staying for
Good
the
job,
whole meeting
Chris.
for that.
Yeah, good job, Chris.
Thank you.
That is a tough job, and it was really cold too out there, so, yeah. I commend
Well,
these guys.
thank you, Doctor, for coming up and saying some positive stuff. Any other comments from the audience? Public comments going once, twice. Public comments are closed. We're now down to miscellaneous business. I know Clerk Turner received a couple of letters. Did you want to read those, Clerk Turner?
Yes, please, Mayor, thank you. The first letter that I have here is from Congressman Eric Sorensen. It reads, Mayor, thank you for always working with me on behalf of the people of Peoria Heights, and is signed. I additionally have a letter here from the Peoria Park District, specifically Ms. Emily Cahill, the Executive Director. It reads as follows. Dear Mayor Wigginton, the Peoria Park District enthusiastically supports the reconstruction of Prospect Road from Kingman Drive to US 150/War Memorial Drive. The Prospect Road corridor is a critical vehicle and pedestrian corridor for both Peoria Heights residents and visitors. The Park District is especially excited about improvements that will include addressing ADA concerns and better connections to Peoria Heights downtown from the Rockaway Island Greenway multi-use trail. The Prospect Road corridor is an economic generator and destination that improves the quality of life for all of our shared constituents. We are happy to support the village's efforts at acquiring grant funding from the BUILD program to continue this work. Sincerely, the Pleasure Driveway and Park District of Peoria, Illinois, Emily G. Cahill.
That's it. Thank you, Clerk Turner. Any other miscellaneous business to come before the board?
Just one thing, Mayor. The first presentation of the budget will be next meeting, the 17th, just as a reminder. So I'll be meeting with department heads, and Stephanie will have a presentation next meeting.
Great.
One really quick item, February 27th at 9 a.m., coffee with the cop.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Weisenberg. Chief, anything?
No, sir.
Chief, anything? Okay. Superintendent Chandler? Then, hearing no further miscellaneous business, we will now adjourn meeting to executive session 5 ILCS 120-2C5, purchase of property. No further business will be conducted before the board. Trustee DeVore?
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Trustee DeVore, or go into executive session by Trustee DeVore, seconded by Trustee Steinwaddle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session.
Oh, I'm like, what is it? It's driving me nuts.
Yeah. So you're okay.
Do we need to address this cannabis ordinance that we have?